The Cold War is a fight between two countries that never actually became a war. The war was more of a who has a greater influence over the other countries, kind of like two kids kind of bickering at each other, seeing whose method is better. Let's start with the youth. The effects of the Cold War was heavily affecting those at home. The youth was severely influenced by the era of rock and roll. Music may not be a tool of war, but the music created from those affected from the war will spread the rebellious intent to the youth. Rock and roll rose to the top as famous artists like Elvis Presley grew in fame. The youth started acting up against their own families and started to think with the thought of freedom. During this time, the teens began to be described as delinquents. But this rebellion is what creates our society today. We are constantly challenging the status quo and may consider the youth as rebels or delinquents, but it is clear that the Cold War was the cause. I believe the war created fear among the youth, and as a response, the rebellion occurred. In regards to the rebellion, culture was changing. There was rather an abrupt change alongside not just the culture of music. Behavior amongst our culture have changed, whether it was popular fad culture or music culture or etc. What the majority was approving was called mainstream. If you were different from that flow, you would be outcasted. Using the youth as an example, the time of smoking, drugs, and sex was rather at a high point. The Cold War put a strong influence within their own countries with pressure, and upon the pressure, what emerged was the rejection of the following the norm. In regards to the status quo, gender equality was also a topic of debate during the Cold War. Within society, men and women have a strict gender role and always have to fulfill society's expectations. However, the changes were occurring around 1950s, where men and women are questioning society and its expectations. Due to the Cold War, women played a role as a housewife in order to take care of her family, and in reality, they lost a chance of pursuing a career. However, this all changed when World War II occurred. But regarding the Cold War, this is how it happened. Television broadcasts would have shows where there's always a family involved, where a mother is a housewife, there's a father who is a workaholic, and there are kids that generally play either a supporting role or are the main characters. Maybe it is a way to distract them for the fact that they're showing a mother who is always a housewife, and the father must be a workaholic, must take care for the family with money and have an income, while the mother needs to do the chores around the house, and etc. The Cold War for the United States would show patriotism towards consumers who followed capitalism during the Cold War. And for the Cold War, it was a battle between which economic influence was better, regarding is it capitalism or if it's communism. And who did all the shopping? The women. The Cold War, compared to World War II, it was nothing more than a battle of wits. Propagandas and tricks were used to spread one's influence to other neighboring nations. With the United States promoting capitalism and Russia promoting communism, the difficulties within their own country must have been immense. Rebellions, outbreaks, protests are bound to occur during these times, especially when one's own country is being overwhelmed with fear and threats. I believe when comfort is broken within one's own house, action must be taken in order to resolve the issue. If I were threatened where the United States was going to be communist, then I would take action to prevent a change I do not agree with. Within the topics of youth, cultural norms, and gender equality, the Cold War had a severe effect on them. War is not a time of peace, so people will be influenced by the pressure applied from the war. The Cold War was a strong example of rather than having a physical battle, but a mental battle.